Palmer had been watching all the fluffy snow layered atop every house and car on her way back from the store. She carried the last of the decorations for the tree, only minutes away from home. The sound of slush filled her ears as everyone hurried back to meet with their families on Christmas Eve. Palmer opened the gates to her house, brushing along the naked tree covered in powdery snow. Glistening icicles broke off the branches in a shower. She looked at her front yard and saw the snowman she and her sister had made the other day, its head toppled over and footsteps around it. Though Palmer wanted to step around in the snow and make snow angels, she quickly searched for her keys with numb fingers in her jacket pocket. The frigid, nippy air made breathing difficult. Anxious to open the door and see the fireplace light up with orange flames, Palmer got inside and warmed up to the sound of the fire crackling and the sweet aroma of burning wood. Palmer lived in a small, cozy house with her elder sister Julia and her husband Peter. She was the first to be back home, and the house was quiet. She saw someone had left a message on the answering machine. It was her sister. "Palmer, I'm going to be home a little late. I got the most beautiful ornament ever. It's going to make the tree glow. But the line here is so long, I don't know how long it will take. See you soon. Make me and Peter some hot cocoa. Bye." Palmer took out all the lovely things she had bought and started decorating the tree. After placing the glimmering golden star on top, she sat back, put her fuzzy feet on the table, and turned on the TV. Suddenly, the bell rang. She hopped up, expecting her sister. She tiptoed and placed her eye in front of the people. It was blocked. Someone was covering her. Probably her sister, she thought. About to open the door, she heard a cough. It didn't sound like her sister or Peter. She looked again and saw a woman poking her head at the door with a big smile. Palmer realized it was the woman from next door. "Palmer, how are you? Just dropped by to give you these freshly baked cookies." "Thank you, Mrs. Vincon." "No problem, dear. I'm heading upstate for the weekend. Let your sister know, all right? The house will be empty. I hope you don't mind keeping an eye out for intruders." "Sure, Mrs. Benson. Don't worry about it." Mrs. Benson smiled and left. The neighborhood Palmer lived in was rather good. The crime rate wasn't too high, and the people were kind. But around Christmas, most people would leave to spend the holidays with their relatives in the countryside, making the neighborhood almost deserted. Palmer, Julia, and Peter had always spent Christmas at home. Palmer had never heard of any burglary or robbery nearby. She didn't give a second thought to intruders and sat back down with a blanket and waited. The clock ticked. Nearly an hour passed, but Julia and Peter hadn't returned, and Palmer was getting home. Then she heard a scratching noise at the front door. She turned down the TV and listened closely. Was it Julia with her shopping bags? There was an eerie silence. Palmer got up to check the people. To her surprise, she saw a large, fat man in a red suit with a fluffy white trim. Palmer looked closely at his face, feeling uncomfortable because it seemed he was staring right back at her. He wore a red hat and had a dirty gray beard down to his chest. Suddenly, a loud knock shocked Palmer, making her jump back and topple a flower vase. "Damn, now he knows I'm here," Palmer thought. The man knocked loudly. Nervously, Palmer spoke up. "Who's there? Why don't you recognize me?" "It's Santa Claus, dear. I'm cold and my belly is rumbling. Won't you let me in?" Chills ran down Palmer's spine. She knew this creep was no Santa Claus. "Please leave." She spoke loudly. Palmer thought the man had left. She peered through the peephole to find his red eyes filled with anger. His face twisted into a grimace as he paced back and forth. He began knocking even harder. "Palmer, it's Santa Claus. I can smell those delicious cookies from out here. Let me in and pour me a cup of hot milk, won't you?" Palmer had a sinking feeling in her stomach. Her heartbeat raced, and she began to shake. How did this man know her name? The man began rattling the door. Palmer peeked out again and saw him shuffling his pocket, taking out something to pry the door open. "If you don't leave now, I'll call the police," she warned. Suddenly, the knocking stopped, and the doorknob was motionless. Palmer was too afraid to look again. She quickly grabbed the phone and called Julia. "There's a man at the door. He's trying to barge in. I'm scared. What should I do?" "Make sure the door is locked. Push the cupboard in front of it and hide. I'll be home with the police as soon as I can." Palmer hurried to push the cupboard in front of the door. Halfway across, there was a loud bang. The wall shook as the man tried to smash down the door. Palmer didn't hesitate. With all her might, she pushed the cupboard covering the door and ran into her bedroom, hiding in the closet behind the coats. In the darkness of the small closet, Palmer was frightened to her core. Her shirt was becoming wet from tears and sweat. Every move made her more terrified of being caught. She tried to stay as still and quiet as possible. She jammed her fist into her mouth to stifle the urge to scream. She heard the loud cracking sound of the front door breaking apart, followed by the crash of the cupboard and glassware falling to the floor. The man was inside the house, only a few steps away from Palmer. She heard him calling out, "Palmer, my sweet girl, where are you hiding? Don't you want to see what I brought in my sack?" Who was this man? What did he want? Never had Palmer seen a psycho like him. She peeked out the small opening of the closet door, realizing she had forgotten to lock the bedroom door. She could see out into the hallway, all the way to the kitchen. There was no one in sight, but Palmer's heart pounded. She held her mouth as her teeth chattered. Then she saw the man in the red suit. He opened the fridge and began hurling food everywhere, stuffing some into his mouth. Palmer was sure this wasn't the same person. The man turned around, walking down the hall with food in his beard and a wet suit. "You've left gingerbread, sugar cookies, and chocolate chip. A glass of milk. Palmer, I've drank every drop and drip. Now come out wherever you are. My big heart can sense you're not too far," he yelled. The intruder stomped down the hall with heavy boots. Palmer tried to hide as far into the closet as she could. She couldn't bear the horror. She could hear him pacing down the hallway, trembling at the thought of being found. "Palmer, I know you're here," the man said, only a few feet away. Suddenly, the closet door handle turned slowly, and light poured into the dark space. The man laughed menacingly. Palmer gripped a wire hand, her eyes wide and hands trembling. The man tore the closet door off the hinges and thrust his head through the coats. Face to face with the drooling madman, Palmer kicked her legs, trying to pull free. But she was no match for this huge, crazy man. She screamed, wishing someone could hear her. But then she remembered, even the neighbors were out of town. No one was near to save her. Gasping and choking from the man's tight grip, everything began to go dark. All Palmer could think of in this moment of despair was to cry out for mercy. The man, with a grotesque smile, whispered, "Tonight is the big night. I'm tired and hungry after that long flight. I've got a list and I've checked it twice. I'm here to decide if you've been naughty or nice. You can scream and beg for your life, but it seems all you'll get tonight is a sharp old knife." Julia and Peter arrived with the police minutes after Palmer called. They found the front door hacked to pieces, glass broken all over the floor, and food scattered everywhere. Julia called out, "Palmer, where are you?" "We're here with the police." "You're safe now." It was silent. Palmer was nowhere to be found. The police searched the house, but there was no one. Julia sat down on the couch next to the tree Palmer had decorated. She cried as Peter tried to console her. "I was too late, Peter. I lost her." Then there was a sound, like an ornament falling from the tree. Julia circled around the tree and screamed in horror. Ornaments of Palmer's fingers hung from the tree, with a note written in it. "You were a bit too late coming from the store. You should have known Christmas meant a lot more. I stole it all, but now it's time to leave. Don't be sad on Christmas Eve.